This segment of JTV News is brought to you by Clarence Thomas Limited, Infinite Solutions, and Caribbean Sellers.
Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Kamlad Persad Bissessa has lifted the 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew that had been in effect since August 21st, but said that the state of emergency would remain pending further reviews by the National Security Council. The Prime Minister told the nation that the state of emergency and the curfew, which covered 17 crime hotspots across the nation and expanded to 3 nautical miles of the coastline, had achieved the desired results in significantly reducing crime on the island. The Prime Minister said several years of anti-crime efforts had not removed the weaponry, drugs and criminals as this state of emergency did. The state of emergency will remain in effect, that it will be reviewed on a continuous basis. The joint patrols of Army and Police will also continue. Opposition leader in the Cayman Islands, Alden McLaughlin, feels the Cayman Islands government waited too late to get public feedback on Cayman's relationship with the United Kingdom before discussions in London later this month.
Are really being deprived of a wonderful opportunity as a country.
Friday is the deadline for people to have their say on London's relationship with its overseas territories before the UK government starts framing a new policy to guide that relationship.
Unfortunately, the process that is now been that we're now engaged upon, quite frankly, doesn't give us the time we need to make proper representation on these issues.
Only in recent weeks was a local committee set up to garner local feedback, nearly a year after the issue was raised at a meeting with overseas territories leaders in London. Mr. McLaughlin says it's a case of too little, too late.
All of this is being so rushed that people just won't have the opportunity, most people won't have the opportunity to understand the matter sufficiently in time to be able to make a constructive contribution.
The meeting's host, independent MLA Ezard Miller, says government should have taken the lead a long time ago.
Something of this magnitude, it should be in a document that all of us should have copies of, because it was approved in Parliament and we know this is what is going to be presented to the United Kingdom on our behalf.
He says there should have been national debate to determine Cayman's position.
And Parliament should have held its own hearings where people could come in, special interest group could make representation on things that needed to be done, and Parliament would collectively make a decision by majority vote.
But the PPM leader is encouraging persons who feel they're in a position to share their views to do so.
If some of the views of some of the people of Cayman go into the mix, there must be a better opportunity of getting the kind of result that we hope for than if we say nothing at all.
The UK government will set out in detail its approach to its overseas territories in a new document next year. Ben Mead, Cayman 27.
The United Nations is being asked to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in compensation to Haitian cholera victims and their families. The more than 5,000 victims are also demanding a public apology and an adequate nationwide response by the UN. US-based human rights group, the Institute for Justice and Democracy in Haiti, which brought the action, is demanding $50,000 in compensation for each sick person and $100,000 for each death. More than 6,600 Haitians have been killed and in excess of 475,000 sickened by the waterborne disease. Nepalese peacekeepers have been accused of bringing the cholera strain to Haiti in 2010. However, the UN has not accepted any responsibility. The victims said the UN and MINUSTA failed to adequately screen and treat peacekeeping soldiers arriving from countries experiencing cholera epidemics. The complaint reads, "The sickness, death and ongoing harm from cholera suffered by Haiti's citizens are a product of the UN's multiple failures." They blame the group for dumping untreated waste from a UN base directly into a tributary of Haiti's longest and most important river, the Artibonite, and failing to adequately respond to the epidemic. A Chinese naval hospital visited Trinidad to provide free medical attention to local citizens. The People's Liberation Army's Peace Arc carries more than 100 medical volunteers, providing free surgery, CT scans, eye care, and other procedures for 7 days.
A good day to dock. The weather is beautiful and the modern Peace Ark, commissioned just 3 years ago, arrives at the port of Spain to a celebratory welcome from members of the local Chinese fraternity. The curious crew manned the rails, symbolic evidence of no hostile intent. This naval ship is a floating hospital and is here for 8 days to provide medical services.
It's on a peace mission, and they will provide some medical service to the public while they're here.
The bugles on board gave way to steel pan on land as the captain and senior crew met the head of the military, Brigadier Kenrick Mirage, and the welcoming dignitaries, and led them on board for a tour of the facilities. Inside, it was difficult to distinguish that this was a ship. The facilities on board are quite similar to any modern hospital. There are between 60 and 80 doctors at the ready, capable of performing some of the most complex operations to simpler ones.
Okay, this is the acupuncture and the moxibustion, traditional Chinese medicine.
This one is used for echocardiography. This one for peripheral, vascular, and small parts, such as thyroid, breast, and so on.
There is a helicopter on board for emergency transfers, given that this vessel is made for war and can be deployed in other risky operations. Crew members will also conduct clinics at the St. James District Health Facility from Wednesday to Sunday this week, open to all members of the public. As many as 100 patients can be accommodated daily on a first-come, first-served basis.
A powerful group of private sector businesses in Britain has called for the UK government to scrap planned increases to the controversial air passenger duty. This bolsters the position of Caribbean tourism stakeholders who have long warned of the impact of the tax. Now, the British Chambers of Commerce has cautioned in a recent report that the economy will suffer serious losses due to the tax, which is set to increase further early next year. The British Chambers of Commerce stated that the UK APD has increased between 140% and 320% since 2007, with a further increase of 5% expected in April 2012. It cited Belgium, Holland and Denmark as being among the many European countries that have had to abandon aviation taxes because of the negative effect the APD has had on their economies. This is Walter Barrett for JTV News.